Welcome everybody. This is your Commish Bromy, as you can tell by the hat, right? Um, a little bit later than I wanted to start today, but it is what it is, kids and all that. Then got caught up while putting them to sleep, watching SmackDown and how that ended, um, and everything. You know, I don't want to get too much into the Bray Wyatt thing. I do have a shirt on as well for him, but you know, just sad day, really, for any of us who are wrestling fans. Um, you know, when something like that happens out of nowhere, it hurts. I'm posted some of the photos and stuff like that on a lot of my social medias and stuff on Wyatt. Um, and the things, why. But anyway, we're not here for that. We are here to talk about TCAA schedule release. The schedules are live on the site. The matchups are set. I'm still working on some of the home and aways to make sure that those are all evened out the correct way. Some of them are a little screwed up, a little skewed. So don't pay attention to the home and aways just yet. Just pay attention to your opponents and kind of go from there. So I'm going to flip over to my other screen here so I can relook at the matchups and everything of that nature and talk about each one and what we do, or at least what I like to do for all the newcomers and for people who forget how I do the schedules. So all the weeks are in there. Like I said, week 1 is something that I've done for pretty much since I took over the league. So that's about 8 years ago now when I officially took everything over. And one thing I loved doing was setting up rematches in week 1 from bowl season. So as always, the main, the college game day show kind of a thing is always a rematch from last year's national title game. So you'll see a lot of matchups in week 1 that were bowl games from last year. So like I said, to start it right off, the game of the week will be the rematch of the national title game that did end in a smidge of controversy. That was the week with the whole DeMar Hamlin situation, where games were postponed and pretty much canceled. Would it have changed the outcome? We do not know. But that matchup does have the reigning champion Queensland Tech Hokies at home taking on Presbyterian Blue Hose. And that's the big main matchup there. Like I said, a lot of the matchups you have seen are rematches from last year's bowl games. Off the top of my head that I can think of, Bushy Central versus Florida State's a rematch from a bowl game. Brock State and Grimes State, I believe, is a rematch from a bowl game. Louisiana and Samurai Jackson University is a rematch from a bowl game. What else? Thugs and Jefferson City is a rematch of a bowl game. SCLSU and DBAPU is a rematch of the bowl game. So pretty much if you won your bowl game, you are the home team. I feel like you get those honors there. So that's kind of what week 1 is. Week 2, we have, if you hear thunder, I got storms rolling through the area. If you hear a dog whining, that's my dog who's afraid of the storms. Right now she is underneath my little desk here where I've got the computer. So if you hear any of that, that's what you're hearing. So, or hopefully the signal doesn't knock out as well, because we all know how StreamYard and myself have not been working very well. I'm working off a different internet source at the moment, so I'm hoping that is might make this better, where it stops glitching and knocking me off when I'm doing these lives, especially during the season, because that has always been a pain in the butt. Week 2, I did some additional matchups of last year, where some of the playoff games, for those bowl playoff games, some of those are rematching here. Some of week 2 also has some of those head-to-head agreements in there as well. So there is that. So kind of pay attention to that. But one big note here is in week 3. Week 3 is the very first game is in your conference. Kind of get a little taste of conference play. So kind of pay attention to what we got going on in there in those matchups. Like I said, it'll be your first conference game in week 3. I don't recall how I have everything structured out off the top of my head when it comes to recruiting and walk-ons, but I'm pretty sure there's no walk-ons yet going into that first matchup in your conference play. Week 4 is going to have a couple more head-to-heads that were agreed upon, where I threw a lot of those games. Same thing with week 5. Let's try that again. Week 5 has a lot of the same things where there was a lot of head-to-head agreements is in sitting in week 5. Week 6 is another conference week. Gets that second conference game going on there. Kind of give everybody an idea of how their conferences is doing. Week 7 is rivalry week, as always. It's always in week 7, where the schools that agreed to rivals be playing each other for whatever it is they're playing for, and then ones who didn't have anything, you're just thrown into that mix there. Key noting as well with week 7 matchups with rivalries, you win, you get to rename that school for the remainder of the regular season. Then we change it back to when we get into conference championship games and bowl games. So a little added bonus there. You get 5 weeks of renaming the school if you're able to defeat them. Sorry, been up since like 5. So with work and stuff. Week 8 is a regular week as well. Once again, a lot of home agreements are in that one. Week 9, you get another conference game matchup in there, so that'd be the third one out of the 5 that you guys would be doing. Week 10, more head-to-head agreements, random games into that. Week 11 is I feel like the lights just dimmed a second there. Week 11, some more conference playing right there. So the fourth one. Week 12 is some more home agreements and stuff like that. And then week 13, the final conference game. I'm sure when we get to week 13, there'll be a lot of talk on who's in, who's out, what's needed, what's not needed when it comes to who's going to be setting up to play that next week in week 14 when it comes to the conference title game. Few things as you're looking at the schedule. Like I said, don't pay attention just yet to home and away. I'm still working on those. The only home and away games that are set in stone are anything that was in conference play. Those are reversed from how those were from last season, obviously for fair scheduling. Same thing with rivalry week. If it's a rivalry that come over from last year, those are switched as well, for fair play. And then the week 1 matchups, if they were bowl games, like I said, if you won your bowl game, you are in those as well, where the winner of that bowl game is the home team. And then also the agreements, those home and homes, those are also set in stone. Those will not change as well for obvious reasons. So I am, like I said, going back through, having to fix a few of the schools home and away. Somehow a couple of schools ended up with 10 away or 10 home games. I don't know how that was even possible because I have it all on a piece of paper, all written out. So I have to go figure out where I messed up and fix all those. Also is focusing on if a school had 7 home games last year, they only have 6 home games this year. So we have an odd number of weeks now. So kind of going through all that adjustment also. So that's the schedule. Not much really to get all fancy and talk a bunch about. But there's kind of a gist of what we'll be doing for your schedules. A couple of other things I can think of as a reminder, right? When we get further into this off season, getting, football starts in a couple of weeks, which is insane to think about. But kind of think about that of your recruiting. We're coming up here in a few weeks. There's going to be the walk-on. You can schedule visits. Please look at that as well when it comes to the visits. Those are bonus points that you get as well with your schools if you win on your home games of that nature as well. So kind of look into that. We're at just under now 24 hours to get your rosters down to that 40. So please make sure for any of your schools who I've been bombarding with DMs, emails, messages, tagging you all across the channels, please make sure you're paying attention and you're getting that in. I just had one come back to me saying thank you for reminding him, but that's what I do. I am constantly trying to make sure everybody is paying attention to what is going on in the league. Sometimes it's annoying. Sometimes it can, upset people, but it is what it is. So that's what I do. I try to make sure there's 100% participation, and I do the damnedest and the best I can to get everybody's attention for the league when it's time to do this stuff. So that's really it. That's all I got. Quick and easy. The next show that I'll be doing will involve most likely the preseason rankings. And then after that, we'll have a preview of week 1. So kind of be ready for that. So if you guys have any questions on anything, you know where to find me. Hit me up on the DMs. If you got my number, text me. Not everybody does, for purposes, right? Back in the day, everyone had my number because, like I said, if I told you before, we used to run this thing via text. So it's pretty insane. Anyway, that's it. That's all we got. Like I said, schedules are out. Take a look at them, matchups, see what you like, see what you don't like, kind of think about what you got going on. All right. Other than that, hope everyone has a good evening. Sorry I went late. We're trying to get into this thing, but it is what it is. Happens. But hope everyone has a good weekend and get ready for some football. So have a good one. See ya.